Thank you, and may it please the court. As any seasoned advocate knows, the red light on the Supreme Court's lectern cuts you off in mid-sentence, and my red light, I'm told, will go on in 5 minutes. But I do have to say, looking at the crowd here this evening and thinking of the combined efforts that have been made by so many people of so many faiths, and of my terrific friend Seamus Hasson, that what it brings to mind are my partners in the great law firm of Miller, Cassidy, LaRocca, and Lewin, named partners, none of which other than myself were Jewish. But they all, Miller, Cassidy, and LaRocca, to their credit, had both the patience and the sacrifice to allow me to take on battles for religious liberty during all those years. And people would say to me, Lewin, you're arguing in the Supreme Court. How come you're the last name on that firm? Miller, Cassidy, LaRocca, and Lewin. And then I would explain, you don't understand. My clients read from right to left. The yarmulke case has been mentioned, so I will maybe slightly exceed that red light. The current Chief Justice, I have to tell you, Chief Justice Roberts, is much more sympathetic to lawyers who appear before him than Chief Justice Rehnquist used to be. He allows you, Roberts allows you to finish a sentence when that red light goes on. But I will take a minute to tell you an anecdote about the yarmulke case and about a justice who was phenomenal in terms of religious liberty, the free exercise clause, although he was terrible on the establishment clause. And that was the man who at the time was the only Roman Catholic on the court, Justice William J. Brennan. Now, of course, we have 6 Catholics and 3 Jews, and I'm surprised that there's no move to see to it that a WASP gets on the court. Justice Brennan, in his support of religious liberty, supported the right to wear a yarmulke with a very vigorous dissent. We lost that case 5-4, but we went to Congress to try to get that remedied. Justice Brennan ended his dissent by saying that although there's no constitutional right to wear a yarmulke according to the court today, that was a psychologist in the Air Force, had no constitutional right. He hoped that Congress would cure this. We got support in the House of Representatives for a bill that would require the military to allow the wearing of religious garb that was neat and conservative. But the Senate refused to pass that bill. Jewish senators, Chick Hecht and Barry Goldwater, spoke out against it. And then, at that point, the United States was in a great battle in Grenada, a war that it won. And a Jewish chaplain went down to Grenada and had the original idea of making a yarmulke out of camouflage material, the very same material that the Marines used for their uniforms. We thought that was a terrific idea. And we manufactured a yarmulke of camouflage material that Senator Lautenberg sent around in the Senate. And believe it or not, the bill passed after he sent it around. Congressman Steve Solars of New York, who had written the bill together with me, wrote a letter to Justice Brennan to thank him for his support of that legislation and his dissenting opinion. I got a copy of the letter. The PS to the letter said that he was enclosing a sample of a camouflage yarmulke that was distributed in order to get the bill passed. And just that week, I got a call from Justice Brennan's chambers asking me to come over because he was getting an honorary degree at Hebrew University. And he wanted to talk to me about Israel and about whom he should see. So I went over, had lunch with Justice Brennan. He was kind enough to provide a kosher lunch for me, just as Sheamus and the Becket Fund have done for me and some others here in the audience today. And when we concluded, he said to me, Nat, do you know that yarmulke case you argued? You know Congress has passed a law that now requires the military to allow the wearing of a yarmulke. I said, Justice Brennan, I know about that law. I helped draft it. He said, well, he says, I got a letter from Congressman Solars about it, and my secretary came in with the letter. I read it, and in with the letter was a yarmulke made of camouflage material. And Justice Brennan says to me, Nat, would you believe it? I read the letter. The yarmulke looked so comfortable, I put it on my head. And, says Justice Brennan to me, I forgot I was wearing it. I wore it the rest of the day in the office. Now, it's, the Jewish community in the United States has the good fortune that the first justice of the United States to wear a yarmulke in his chambers is a Roman Catholic. In any event, Justice Brennan said, I wore it. I forgot I was wearing it. At the end of the day, I went home. I went through my secretary's office. My law clerks saw me wearing it. They were embarrassed to ask me why. I went home, drove home. I was home for 5 minutes before my wife said to me, Bill, what do you have on your head? I felt up there, says Justice Brennan. It was the yarmulke. It was very comfortable. Well, that was Justice Brennan. The fight for religious liberty is one that everybody has to fight for. And I rise in tribute to Sheamus to offer a uniquely Jewish blessing to my very admirable colleague in the battles that we fought together even before there was a Becket Fund. I recall Sheamus calling me to tell me that he's forming the Becket Fund. Phenomenal idea. Now, it can't be a coincidence, although maybe it's an ecumenical divine prank, that this magnificent tribute by the Becket Fund is being bestowed on a Jewish festive day. Most of you, I dare say, as erudite as you might be, are unaware that today, according to the Jewish calendar, is Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is a day of celebration. After an extended period following Passover, when weddings and even haircuts are prohibited because of disasters that befell the Jewish people, the 33rd day of the count that follows Passover and anticipates Pentecost, Shavuos, is a day of joy. One of the great historic figures associated in Jewish tradition with Lag BaOmer is Rabbi Shimon, the son of Yochai. How close Shimon is to Sheamus. Shimon ben Yochai was the author of the great mystical Jewish work, the Zohar. And on this very day, on Lag BaOmer, Jews from all over Israel made pilgrimages to the northern part of the country to Meron, to his tomb. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was, like Sheamus, a battler. He fought the Romans, as did his teacher, Rabbi Akiva, for the right to teach and practice Judaism. When I think of Sheamus, I think of his namesake, Rabbi Shimon, who was so zealous that, according to the Talmud, he could turn with anger at those who did not share his commitment to everlasting values, that his gaze would literally scorch the earth. And that is why those who visit him on Lag BaOmer in Israel burn bonfires. There have been bonfires all over Israel this day. Rabbi Shimon is the symbol on this day of total commitment to faith. His personal lesson, taught in the Ethics of the Fathers, applies to Sheamus, whom we honor here today. Rabbi Shimon said, there are 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. In Hebrew, Keser Torah, Keser Kahuna, and Keser Malchus. But the crown of a good name, Keser Shem Tov, surpasses them all. Sheamus could have chosen a crown of wealth and royalty, partnership in Williams and Connolly, a prosperous law firm. He could, I am sure, also have chosen a crown of prominence and priesthood. But his is the supreme crown, and that's what we award him today, the crown of a good name that one achieves by a lifetime of accomplishment and good deeds. Rabbi Akiva, the teacher of tens of thousands of students who also supported the revolt of the Jewish faithful against the Roman Empire and is remembered on Lag BaOmer, is the rabbi who declared that the entire Torah is encapsulated in the famous verse in Leviticus that we read in synagogues across America and Europe this past Sabbath. The verse is, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." That, too, is Sheamus's credo. He and the Becket Fund have been battling for the rights not just of Christians, but of all religious minorities in the United States. I consider myself Sheamus's neighbor, and I feel his love when I read of the triumphs of his organization on behalf of Jews and Muslims and Christians. There's a final Jewish blessing that must be recited before my red light goes on and before I leave the podium. It is the universal Jewish toast given traditionally as a prayer for many productive and healthy years in the future. And I am honored and delighted to be up here today to give that toast to Sheamus, l'chaim, to life.